Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and doing
Yeah,
this.
man. Absolutely.
Thank you. So, first thing, I know that you are very, very into cryptocurrency.
Yeah, like within the last 6 months, I've gotten into it pretty heavy.
So, what do you think about the Bitcoin drop? It dropped again.
Oh yeah. So I think, long story short, I think we're in a bull market right now, but there always needs to be corrections. So I think we're fine right now, but who knows? No one knows really, right?
I didn't know until I was looking at it the other day that it dropped, or in the beginning of this year, it was at 16,000.
Right around there, yeah.
That's
and then it just started
crazy.
to climb, yeah, because
I don't know, it was this year. I thought it was like it had been a couple of years since that climb happened.
well, yeah. So there's been like three peaks, right? So in 2012, 2013, there was a huge spike, and then in 2017, it went up to about 20,000. It's just pumped up real quick and then dropped back down and went into a bear market until 2020, like late 2020. and what kicked that off was pandemic and all of the money printing for the most part, as well as like a lot of the crypto companies and the altcoins. They've been working this whole time. It's not like if the price goes down, they just kind of hold off, right? So in 2017, there was a lot of hope and very little actual viable products that people could interact with, right? In the crypto industry, it was really just Bitcoin, and then Ethereum was kind of doing a couple things, but it was very primitive. And now during this cycle, it's basically, gloves are off, and they're starting crypto, and the whole industry is starting to seep into different industries and really have an impact on the world and people and countries, and yeah, it's crazy.
Just today, I was trying to explain to my mother, who is in her 60s, in her late 60s, trying to explain to her about this Bitcoin stuff, and I told her about it. I was trying to talk to her about it. She's like, "Oh yeah, your dad's into it."
Nice.
Like, is he? And I texted my dad. No, he's into Dogecoin. And I'm like, oh, and he put thousands into Doge.
It hurt. I mean, I recently, so I'm.
I was like, what?
It's funny because my mom called me when I was driving over here, and she wanted to, because she hadn't talked to me since we went to New York we went to vacation in New York last week. And one of her, because she manages a real estate company, and one of her young agents was like talking about Bitcoin. And then she's like, oh yeah, my son got me into it. And yeah, so let me just adjust this real quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was pretty stoked that she was investing in it, because a lot of people, I'd say like over the age of 50 or right around there, they don't get it, right? It's scary to them, and a lot of newer technology is scary for people. It's always like that, right? Like, why do I need to use email? What is this internet thing? What is it's there's always hesitation, because you're basically scared of what you don't understand, right?
Right.
And rightfully so, though, because you have Dogecoin. Like, a lot of people are going to get wrecked by some of these meme coins. Dogecoin, maybe it can produce some kind of value, but that's the unfortunate thing, is that there are so many scams in the space. But it is what it is. Eventually, those will all be flushed out. I kind of think of it like the 01.com era, right? There were only a few survivors from that area. There's continuing to be tons of businesses built up in tech, but there's only a few survivors. But those survivors, you're talking Amazon, Microsoft, yeah, Apple.
Oh yeah.
And if you would have held, you would have been fine. But I think Bitcoin is one of those, right? Because I want before we talk about price and stuff, I think it's important to talk about like what crypto is, because I think it's often misunderstood within the context of like the average person, because they hear Bitcoin and they hear like Dogecoin, like your dad.
Right. And they think they're the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're not.
They're very, very, very different, right? Like, I think for Dogecoin, there's a small amount of wallets that hold an ungodly amount of the actual token. So like if a few of those people choose to sell, it's going to crash, right? Mm-hmm. And there's no real value. I mean, it's a fork off of Litecoin. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much, but I want to talk, because if anybody is listening to this and they are in that boat and they're kind of just like, oh, Bitcoin go up, great, that's fine, right? But the problem with that is let's say Bitcoin's at 60,000 right now, and it goes up to 500,000 in 2 weeks, which could happen.
Yeah,
it could happen, right? Like if sovereign funds and the $1 trillion energy starts in investing money into that, and large nation states, because there's very little supply right now. So, do you have the ability to hold when it goes up to 500,000? When you 10-20x your money, right?
Right.
And that's where the education comes in, right? And that's where the understanding of what you're investing in comes in. Rightfully so, when it drops back down to possibly 10,000. It could certainly happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could happen. Absolutely, right? There could be some crazy fear, uncertainty, and doubt, something that happens. Maybe a Western country bans it, whatever, or there's a little hack or something. But that's where the education piece comes in, right? Because you have to understand what you're investing in, and but if you want to make a quick buck, you can certainly do that in crypto. But I want to kind of talk about like the basis for crypto and the industry and why it is so important to humanity, because that gets lost, right? You don't hear fucking CNBC or NBC or any of the large networks talking about the fact that we're currently getting absolutely fucked right now as they're continuing to print money. And today, they just approved that $1.7 trillion bill for infrastructure. And we need infrastructure, right? But like with the T, trillion, like anyways, everybody's lying about inflation. It's a bunch of bullshit. And that's where Bitcoin comes in as like sound money. And sound money being something that you can hold and rely on, right? That it's not being printed away or, changed by someone or some group that has power over that currency, which has happened throughout the history of time.
But, okay, so I was trying to explain that to my mom, but I didn't understand it. I don't understand that because we've talked about this, but you're saying that with Bitcoin right now, there is no way for someone to control it to a point where it's going to be corrupted, but it can't happen.
It could happen.
Probably will happen one day.
So I think the last Bitcoin is going to be mined. I think it's like 200 years from now or something. I don't know. And excuse me if I'm wrong. Again, I also want to preface, like, I'm not an expert. I just watch a bunch of YouTube videos and I read a couple articles. So
two guys on a couch.
Yeah,
I get it.
If I say anything that is absolutely wrong, let me know and I'll look into it, because I and I'm not claiming to be an expert, but it is something that I'm passionate about. But what were we talking about?
I was talking about how, so one of the things that turned me onto Bitcoin was we had a conversation about how you had told me that it is one of the only currency, or is a currency currently that it cannot be corrupted, like our American banks are, and we're doing the compare and contrast with the American banks. But at one point, the banks people bought into this whole, put your money in a savings account and a checking account, because it was a point in time, I'm sure, where it was like, like I said, like you said, I'm trying to say the same thing. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm assuming that people bought into this system because there was a time when they made it clear there was no corruption in it. So
unfortunately,
it can't happen.
Since the beginning of man, right? This is also why Bitcoin is so big, and this is talking about like they call it first principles, which is understanding kind of the underlying reason why this came about, right? And why it's so powerful. And that is because Bitcoin is the first thing to ever be created that cannot be manipulated by one person, one group, one institution, one country, you name it, right? Think about everything else in the history of mankind. It's always been able to be manipulated if you have enough money, or you have enough power, or you have enough influence, right?
Right.
Who has the biggest gun, who has the whatever, right? And that in itself is extremely powerful, right? So like when Bitcoin was first created, it was just created as like, it was out of the 2008 crisis. Remember when, like, if you ever watched The Big Short?
Yeah. That's when it was created, 2008?
Yeah. Well, the first Bitcoin was mined in 2009. It was right after, right? It was basically the government bailing out the banks, printing ungodly amounts of money to basically give over to these corrupt institutions, or, not necessarily corrupt, but they fucked up, right? And
Right.
I have a saying in life, like, nothing is for free. Basically, if you do something wrong and you know it's wrong, it's basically like saying karma. It's going to come back and get you, right? And we have never played on a level playing field. Just to get back to like your idea of, well, maybe 100 years ago or 500 years ago it was different. It's never been that way, right? Like if you even think about the Roman Empire, I mean, they remelted their coins until there was like almost no gold in them, right? And they had almost no value. That's what's happening right now to the U.S. dollar, and other countries are printing a lot more money than we are, especially like the third world countries and whatnot. But yeah, so that's the big fundamental understanding of like this whole movement, this whole cryptocurrency thing. It's something, if built correctly and truly decentralized, that's another thing we can go into, because there's Bitcoin maximalists that say Bitcoin is the only truly decentralized cryptocurrency out there. Because basically, if the U.S. government wanted to come in and say, we want to shut down Bitcoin, or all the European countries came together, whatever, could they do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for a lot of the cryptocurrencies, they could probably go to the founder, they could go to the dev team, and possibly shut them down, maybe. Excuse me. But yeah, so it's basically something that cannot be corrupted, and something that creates trust because it cannot be corrupted. And that's where it gets like really, really interesting, is trust. Like, what don't we trust in our world right now?
Right. And that's my thing isn't that what we call our banking systems, the trust?
Yeah, we don't trust our
At
politicians.
At one point we did trust this system, and now we don't. I'm talking about the American currency.
The average, okay, yeah.
And even our government, like there's certain things that you could say that about that. But my point is, right now with Bitcoin, it looks like, I mean, it is like you're saying, it's decentralized. It's this thing that is. So do you think? Let me ask you this. I mean, this may sound like I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Okay, so please don't get me wrong. If you, Ryan, were able to get paid in Bitcoin from your job, would you accept that? Like they would give you your check every month. In Bitcoin?
I would take it, but like I still use dollars,
right?
And
but would you be comfortable just
I'll
take it and transfer what I need? Yeah,
I mean the mass majority of my net worth is in crypto.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean that's because I've done the research on my own, and I've put the pieces together for myself, and I don't really like it's the most exciting thing, because on so many levels, I think it's going to change. And this sounds like kind of hyperbolic. It sounds a little out there, but I believe it really will change the world for the better. Hopefully, regardless, I am almost certain that it will change the world. It'll have a fundamental effect on the world and how we live.
Mm-hmm.
And that's based in a lot of kind of, when you think about money, when you think about trust in our institutions, and how much a role like money play, like backing currency, backing a dollar, and that's in jeopardy right now, right?
Right.
And then when you think about any institution, any industry that you might not trust, or you think that maybe there's a few select groups of people that benefit in that industry, right? Insurance, we're talking about banking, we're talking about politicians, we're talking about countries on a larger scale. So yeah, like it's going to challenge all of that. And they can't shut it down. Bitcoin, at least, and probably Ethereum too, and probably a couple others, right? Or a few others, I should say. But yeah, it's going to flip everything upside down on its head, hopefully, because I think like the way that we're going, it's not currently working.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, I didn't think about it until you said it right now, about how I've heard about that in the past, about how third world countries printing their own money over and over again, And I didn't really think about. I didn't even click until right now that we're doing that right now.
Yeah, dude. Like you think about Argentina, you think about like Venezuela are a few big ones. All of the African nations,
And they all been suffering for years.
yeah, because corruption, dude. Like, what if you could go and print more money? Wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, of course.
And it's
you would.
not necessarily the like the. I don't believe that the federal bank, the people that work there and make those decisions, are like these horrible, evil people. I just think they're human, right? Like, and that's another aspect of it. If you throw out all the philosophy and all that, and you just look at human error and like human instinct and the fact that we are flawed, yeah, like it's much better to have something that cannot be controlled by any one human or group because they're going to fuck it up.
Right.
The best decisions that can be made are as a collective, right? They can be peer reviewed across 500,000 people and everyone can say, no, that's bullshit. No, this is good. No, that's bullshit. And we can have an open forum and talk about it. So like, that's how changes get made in Bitcoin. Cause you had a question earlier about like, how is it never going to be changed?
I feel like probably. I mean,
because it could be changed.
Yeah, maybe
it's only code.
When we're dead and gone, maybe something's gonna happen. Because who knows? Maybe the people who like set up the the banks, the government, our government banks now, like our banks now, were like, this is awesome. This is they're thinking what we're thinking now. Like, this is the best thing. It's gonna happen to humanity, and it was for a time, but it got corrupted, and now it's just something that's shitty. I mean, like it just doesn't make sense. Like back then, like I told you, I don't know if I told you this, but
think about the internet as a perfect example.
Internet, but even like with housing, like I know a guy I talked to. He's my age, he's our age, and he lives in off of downtown. He has a house. His parents have a house. They bought that house for $80,000 in like '88, and they added stuff onto it. They added like it was a 1 bedroom. They added a couple bedrooms onto it over the years, and it's just, and now it's like, it's very, very crime infested. It's not in a good neighborhood, but where they're like on a hill, you can see the bay.
Oh, nice.
And you don't have to get on the freeway.
Are they in like Midtown, that area?
I don't really know the area, but I couldn't tell you straight up, but they live, they don't have to get on the freeway to go to downtown. They just take a couple back streets. They're in Gaslamp.
Okay.
So their real estate is like almost $1 million. Like that little plot is almost $1 million when it was 80,000 at one point. In the 80s. And he's like, yeah, I'm thinking about selling it. I'm like, dude, do not sell this. Do not sell. Hold on. I told him like straight up, just hold on to it.
Yeah.
Because real estate is something that's yeah, exactly. Hold on to it. Real estate is something that is almost invaluable. I mean, or just it's never going to go down. I mean, if it does go down, it's going to go back up, or you're gonna get something from it.
Yeah, you just think because I had a house in Virginia when I moved out to San Diego, and I ended up selling it because I didn't want to deal with the hassle. And I should have fucking kept it because guess what? It went up in value. And I'm like, God damn it. Right. Because I really went through like a financial like boot camp through COVID. Because I was sitting there, I was like, why the fuck are stock prices going up and house prices going through the roof when we have almost 30% unemployment? What the fuck? Because people are investing in assets.
Right.
That will they'll make a return on their dollars. Very simple, right? But when you take it to a little further extreme and you think, whoa, like if I hold on to dollars, especially right now, let's just say inflation is they say it's at 8%, I'd say it's higher, but let's just say 5%, right? Throughout the next 10 years. 5% compounded over 10 years, your dollar is worth like 20, it's worth nothing, right? Your dollar's devalued.
I don't know anything about this, but
so just do the math. Like a year from now, if you have $10,000, your purchasing power. Think about it like purchasing power. Like, can you purchase a car? Can you purchase a house? Can you purchase a steak?
What's $10,000 worth in 10 years?
Yeah, or let's just say $100 is probably a better example. Minus 5%. So you go, okay, you got $95 next year, and then you take 5% of that. 5% of that, 5% of that, 5% of that. So over 10 years, I mean, you're probably looking at about half of what you had, and you're just holding the dollar, right? So like there's like this saying, right? It's rich people invest, rich people invest, middle class basically saves their dollars, and the poor spend their dollars, you know? But yeah, it's very important to really think about that, especially at a young age. Like I'm trying to get Richie because he had mentioned he wants to invest. I bought my my nephew for his high school graduation, $500 of Bitcoin, and I said you can't touch it for at least 5 to 7 years. I don't know yet because if he wants to go buy a car or something and he's young, maybe, but it's also his decision. But he kind of trusts me. But yeah, like just think if you and me would have taken, 10% of our money. If you're under the age of 25 and you're listening, then take a certain percentage of your money and put it away in something. Stocks doesn't really matter. Well, it does matter. Buy your favorite stock, buy your favorite company, and put it away, or buy Bitcoin or buy crypto, and just put it away and forget about it. Right? Like if you bought $1,000 worth of Amazon stock in, I don't know what it was, like the late 90s or the early 2000s after it crashed, maybe there's a high chance that you'd be close to a millionaire. You know what I mean?
You're talking to all those kids who are gamers. GameStop jumped.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's kind of showing like the network effect of the internet and how much information we have at our fingertips, and it's really cool. And that's also like tying into crypto, like these decentralized autonomous organizations, which are kind of pulling people together. So the other day, I invested in buying the U.S. Constitution. Did you hear anything about this? Because I think it was on like CNBC. So this guy started this. So a DAO, it's called a DAO, right? A decentralized autonomous organization, and it's all based on blockchain. So you can either maybe hold tokens, or you can. A lot of people are doing them with like NFTs, like a collection of NFTs. You basically buy an NFT, you have that NFT on your wallet, and they can verify that you're part of that DAO, and no one can change it, right? Well, this guy was like, Sotheby's, I think it was Sotheby's or Christie's or something. They were going to be auctioning off a very rare copy of the Constitution. I think there's only like 10 copies that are available.
What is it? Like a copy? So they copied it?
Yeah, I think they have like 10 copies of the original Constitution.
Got it.
I believe it's 10. And he's like, basically just started a DAO on Twitter and just started talking to people on Twitter. And I don't know how he advertised it, but I heard about it and I was like, yeah, I would like to own a part of the Constitution. So I sent over like $100 in Ethereum and I got some tokens in return. It's all on the blockchain. I'm part of that DAO. I own part of that Constitution, but unfortunately he was outbid. I think they raised like 25 million in like 2 weeks. But I could have owned through the decentralized autonomous organization, I could have owned a fraction of the U.S. Constitution.
Holy shit!
Yeah, which is cool, right? Because that's a
copy of the Constitution.
Yeah, sorry, a copy of the Constitution, because that's another really cool thing is in crypto that's happening right now is these DAOs, and basically it's just people getting together. And it's very primitive right now, but they're basically creating these little groups. Right. And they have different kind of governance, but on average, you vote on things and maybe it's NFTs or maybe it's tokens. I don't know however they, try to structure it on how many votes you have. But let's say I have 2 NFTs out of 10,000. I get 2 votes for whatever that DAO is going to do with their money or whatever decision that they're going to make. Right.
Right.
And it's cool. And like the tokenization thing is really cool because it's going to be, there's this guy that I listen to on YouTube, really well known, like Raoul Paul, and he's talked about this for a while, is the tokenization of everything. So everyone is going to have a piece of the pie. Think of it that way, right?
So let me ask you this. You're saying that during the pandemic, you started studying up and you started reading about investing before the pandemic, 2019. Were you investing in anything at all, or were you just kind of just working? And
I had my 401k and I had done like a trade here or there. Like I remember I bought Tesla when I was in the military and sold it.
Tesla stock?
Yeah, but I sold it very quickly after. I think I made like a, few $100 and I was like, I had purchased Bitcoin back in 2014. And then made $100, $200 and sold it.
You bought a whole Bitcoin?
I bought 2 or 3 at a time sometimes.
Jeez.
Yeah. But I remember specifically when I was visiting my buddy in Brooklyn, and he's a tech guy, very smart, and he had actually bought a bunch of Bitcoin. This was when it first popped up to $1,000. I think this is a 2013 time frame, 2013, 2014, around there. And I remember us like we just got done eating dinner at night. We were sitting out having a cigarette, and we're like, man, it's $1,000. I don't know,
Right.
is it going to go any higher? Like,
Right.
because it was very fringe at that time. There wasn't any adoption, and yeah, it's like coulda, woulda, shoulda.
I think I told you the story about the guy I work with who he's this kid who went to San Diego State. He was going to San Diego State. He graduated already, but while he was going through, when I first started working at Costco, he was working there. We got hired the same year. He's probably 21 when I met him. He's in his 20s, but he had bought one Bitcoin for like $1,000, and during his time in school. And it went up to like 19,000 at that time. It was like 2017, 2018.
I had a coworker that had bought 3 Bitcoins with his buddy. They had split it, but yeah, go ahead.
But he would sell pieces of it as it would go up and down. He would
That's
sell pieces
smart.
of it, and he paid for his school. He paid for his whole. He doesn't have any debt.
Yeah,
and that's one of the things he wishes he would have kept it. So because now it's it went higher than it was, but he was saying at least I have that.
Yeah.
At least I have that under my belt. It's paid off. My schooling's paid off. Everything's good. And he still has I think a fraction of a Bitcoin.
So this brings me back to my point about educating yourself on what you're investing in, especially in crypto, because it's very easy to get misled by the media, especially because they want to scare you, right? They call it FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And a lot of it is manufactured. A lot of it's real, but a lot of it is manufactured, right? And if you don't have a fundamental understanding of, let's say, Bitcoin, what Bitcoin is, and why you're investing in it and why you think it's so important and the future that you see for it, you will be the guy that sold at 19,000 or 500,000, and in 10 years is 10 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
That could be a scenario, and that's the education piece where you need to build your kind of your confidence, I guess, or not, right? Or be like, this thing's I don't want to invest in this, or maybe I'm just going to trade it. But yeah, it's just it's so
it's
important.
like gambling. It's like gambling basically, but at the same time, it's like look at the like what we're seeing right now. Look at the patterns, because there are patterns. Like look at like I was telling you about Dogecoin. Like look at the patterns. Like it just stays. People are thinking like, oh, I'm going to dump money into it. It just stays, but Bitcoin, it goes up and down and up and down and up and down.
Well, so does Doge, though. Doge is very volatile.
But it doesn't go past $1. It will never go past $1, I don't think. It just stays.
Yeah,
and then I'm reading things about how I guess they're still mining. One of the things that you got me into is I get on Reddit and I read about all these cryptocurrencies. Not all of them, just I read about the ones I've been putting money into, and how Doge is I guess they're still mining it. That's the reason why it's not going up. People think it's going to go like dollars and then hundreds, but they're saying it's because they keep mining it, and there's so much of it that there's never going to be.
But they're still mining Bitcoin, right? As long as the supply is larger than the amount of Doge or Bitcoin that's being mined, then it'll go up. And normally there's kind of like a fractional kind of downward trend on how much miners will be rewarded over time, because it's all based on math, and it's a little above
Shit.
my
I'm
understanding.
I'm not good at math.
Yeah, neither am I. But yeah, man, I mean, but getting back on the humanitarian aspect of it, right? Like, that's what people need to understand is, like the stimulus checks that we just got. Yeah, it's nice to get some money, and I think a lot of people needed it, but there are a lot of people that didn't. Let's be honest.
Definitely.
Right. And that's basically, in my opinion, short-term pleasure for long-term pain, because especially if we continue spending, because your wages as a wage earner, right? You get paid hourly or weekly or whatever, it doesn't really matter. They're not going to go up every year for the average individual, right? Like, you aren't getting 10% pay raises every year, right? But what if steak and gas and everything else you need to live keeps going up, but you keep making the same amount of money, and on top of it, let's say that you're living paycheck to paycheck. You're fucked, right? Like,
right.
You're screwed. We're already seeing that, $6 gas, meats through the roof. We're already seeing like pretty high inflation. I think it was like we haven't seen this high inflation since like the 70s or the early 70s. But yeah, so like that's what's happening there. And the rich people and the upper class people that have, you know, extra money lying around, they invest it and it multiplies, right? Because the dollar is getting devalued and they put it into assets, and therefore everyone else is investing in these things and they become valuable, just like Bitcoin, right? Like that's exactly why Bitcoin became so valuable. One of the reasons. But the main reason is, you know, it's basically something that just cannot be manipulated. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing. But whenever you hear politicians or people talk about, you know, Bitcoin is a scam or cryptocurrency is a scam, or
they're trying to steer you the other way.
Yeah, or they just don't really understand it, because there are a bunch of
think.
scams out there, and you know.
I think most of them are just trying to steer you the other way because they're actually investing in it, and they're just trying to make people think that, oh, that's what I think. Maybe
no, you're right, and there's been proof to what you just said. There's been a number of large institutions that have publicly came out on CNBC or, you know, been interviewed and been like, this is a trash scam, don't buy it. Meanwhile, they're buying it.
Jesus Christ,
right?
Really?
Yeah.
Proven? Wow.
Yeah, and they're offering it to their clients now, right? Because their clients want it, you know? And, yeah, it's really interesting time. And I don't feel like we have enough time, and I feel like I'm skipping over so many topics in which I should cover for. Like,
I don't think I gave you a proper introduction.
Oh,
Ryan, this is your camera.
Okay.
That's my camera. You know, if you want to, like, just, you know, like whenever you're talking to the kids, like you said, you know, the 25, like that, you can look in that camera. That's your camera. That's my camera. Just letting you know, either way. And you are from where you were born in. You said
yeah, up by L.A., about an hour east of L.A., in Upland, California.
Upland, California.
Yep.
And you went to school? Where did you go to school?
For high school.
You went to college?
I went to college for a year and then dropped out. I went to Cal State Long Beach for a year, then dropped out, and then I moved up to Seattle and I started like an internet gaming cafe with my brother-in-law. And then that didn't work out, like many of them did not. And moved down to back down to Upland, sold pool tables and like game room furniture for like a couple years, and then worked for a liquor distributor. And then tried to play poker, but I was like, it was a really bad place for me at that time because I was drinking a ton, and I was I mean, I used to be decent at poker, but it's not, you can't play poker when you're drinking all the time, right? And going to the casino and blowing money in blackjack. Plus, it's just extremely stressful when that's your only. But I did that for a few months and then lost everything and was like, oh shit, I need to do something, because I was like fucked, right? I was like 23, 24. All my friends had graduated college, very, you know, starting their careers, becoming successful. And I ended up joining the military. So I joined the Navy. I originally joined the Navy to become a Navy SEAL and went through a little bit of training, and it didn't work out. But I fell back on IT because I majored in computer science at Cal State Long Beach. And then finished up my degree after 4 years and got out. And then worked did government contracting up in DC for a number of years, and then moved out to San Diego like 4 years ago, like 3.5, 4 years ago.
What was your major?
It was like network security. It was a technical school. So I basically was I was in the Navy full time and then going to school at night, and I just finished. It was like a fast track. I can finish it up in a couple of years. But yeah.
So you did your 4 years in the Navy, 4 years, and you did your 4 years of college at the same time?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, dude.
I've never heard anyone do that.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I mean, I was single for a good part of it, but
well,
it wasn't too bad.
Happy Veterans. It was Veterans Day. I didn't know you were a veteran. Happy Veterans Day, dude.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Damn, I did not know you were a veteran. And you were stationed in Washington, D.C.?
I was stationed down in Norfolk for like 3 years, and then I spent a year in Bahrain.
Bahrain, where's that?
Bahrain, it's a little island off the coast of Saudi Arabia.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
And then Norfolk is Virginia.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where you had the property. You said you had bought the.
I had so I was in Norfolk for the Navy, and then I moved up to Northern Virginia, which is like 20 minutes outside of DC. And I lived in Reston there, and I had a little property up there. Yeah.
Wow, I did not know all that. That's
man.
fucking crazy. Well, fucking welcome to San Diego.
Yeah. Thanks, dude.
Wow.
I love
Okay.
San Diego.
Yeah, it's a good place, but expensive.
Yeah, I know. Well, just since I've been here, the rent has gone up 20-30%.
I've been here for 11 years, and this place right here has gone up crazy. But my landlord's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's very reasonable, so I got lucky. But I compare with the guy above me.
Yeah.
And like I know the place above me is, I wanted to invest in that place, but Diana was like, no, she doesn't like it.
Oh yeah.
It's 2-bedroom, and it was going for $400,000. She's like, no, and I was like, come on, let's do it. Let's just try. She didn't want to do it. I really would, but who knows? Maybe she's right. She's usually right.
I mean,
so we'll see.
My mom works in real estate. My two sisters work in real estate, and they're like, don't buy right now. And I agree. I mean, because we're at the height of the market, but at the same time, we were talking about all this money printing and assets. And I mean, I kind of look at it like this: if you can afford to buy a house, and you're definitely going to stay there for like the next 10 years, I think you'll be able to ride out any major fluctuation. I think that's enough time. But, if you're not sure where you're going to be in 4 to 5 years, I would not purchase a house right now.
Okay.
Because that's what happened to me on the place that I had up in Virginia. We actually bought a little bit over market, but the market started to decline a little bit. And we basically ended up breaking even and losing a little money after owning it for 4 years.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So, and now it's gone up. I mean, we sold it for like 360, 365, I think, 369. And now I look on Zillow and it's like the high fours.
Jeez.
But I guess that's 4 years later, 3.5, 4 years later. But no, actually, no, we rented it out a year when we were here. So that was only 2.5, 3 years ago. Yeah. So 2.5, 3 years ago, but housing market's insane right now. It's not normal.
That's
a lot of
crazy.
things aren't normal right now.
That's crazy. Almost $500,000 for a place in Northern Virginia.
Well, Northern Virginia it's one of the richest counties in the nation.
Okay. I assumed it was like rural, just like chill.
No, it's because it's right outside of DC.
That makes
you got
sense.
a bunch of government contracting there. You got a bunch of
people work there.
different industries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people work there, so probably just like I'm from Bakersfield, California.
Okay.
Real estate's not as cheap as it was. I mean, like everywhere else, but it's cheaper than like the average place, the average city, and people live there and they go work in LA. They work in downtown LA. I hear that a lot. And so like it's like out there, it's just getting like more congested, more crazy out there.
I can't even think about doing that drive.
Right.
Remember I told you that I worked as a liquor distributor or worked for a liquor distributor as an operations manager.
Right.
And my boss was kind of wanting me to understand all the different aspects of the business. So he had me like cleaning toilets to fucking mainly working in the warehouse to doing a little bit of sales, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So he's like, okay, Bakersfield, that's your territory for sales, right?
You used to go to Bakersfield?
Yeah.
Holy
I used
shit.
to drive up from Upland. So I would drive in through LA, up through Valencia to Bakersfield. I would wake up at like fucking 4:00 in the morning, be hungover as shit. Cause I was like, when I was my dark times when I was drinking and shit.
What year was this?
This was 2004, 2003.
I was there. That's
2004.
crazy.
Yeah. And I would get, because I was drinking like a ton. So I'd be half drunk, waking up. You drive up there, no sleep, then you drive back. Well, one of the times when I was driving back, I had like a little S10. You remember the Chevy S10?
Yeah, I remember those.
Driving back, exhausted, right? And I fell asleep at the wheel on the freeway.
Oh, shit.
And I wake up, and the semi, I hear this like, and I look over, and like, I'm like rubbing up against the back tire of a semi, like on the container, like on the back tire. And luckily I, kind of swerved off of it. And then my whole right side of my truck had like black tire marks on it. Yeah, it was crazy, dude. I mean, I could have easily died.
Wow. You could have hit it in the wrong spot and went underneath.
Yeah. Yeah, got lucky. I've had a bunch of situations like that. But yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's my Bakersfield story. I'll never forget that.
That's crazy. Where would you go in Bakersfield?
I would just like right smack dab in the middle of Bakersfield. I don't remember where I went.
Like a Vaughn's or some shit?
Yeah, I would. Well, I wouldn't hit up Vaughn's because you'd have to have a contract. But I would hit up like just little liquor stores and shit.
Okay,
I actually did pretty well. I mean, I sold quite a bit up there for the couple times that I went up there. But
That's fucking interesting. I wonder if we like rubbed shoulders and we didn't even know it.
maybe. I mean, but I was only up there for like a day. I would go up for a day and then drive back the same day.
But I'm telling you, man, like I was all over that city. I was all over there, man.
Nice.
Oh yeah, well that town, whatever you want to call it. One of the things, something else I need to ask you about is that I'm still confused about are NFTs. NFTs. You invest in those as well?
Yeah, I've been messing around with them quite a bit actually. Like that's actually been what I've been spending all my time. Actually, I stayed up till 3:00 last night and I didn't get much sleep because I was messing around with NFTs. Yeah, NFTs, they're interesting. I think it's really like when we're talking about the crypto. I'm gonna take this off. Is that cool?
Yeah, do whatever you gotta do.
Yeah,
feel
I don't feel
comfortable.
comfortable
Just be
with it.
comfortable, yeah.
Yeah. NFTs are basically the best way to think about them. Everyone thinks about them as JPEGs because that's what the big rage is right now. But think about them as digital property, right? Digital property. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, you can just copy the JPEG and blah, blah, blah. But that's not what it's really about. It's about having ownership of something on the internet, right? And some ownership of something on the internet can also link to something in the real world. And you know, like when you own a house, right? When we were talking about house ownership. Yeah, you own that house, but what if you don't pay your taxes? Do you really own it? No, the fucking government owns it. They're going to come and foreclose on you and the banks are going to take it away from you, right? So there's very few assets that you actually own, right? What about your stocks? You own those, right?
Right.
What if they shut down your brokerage account because they don't like something that you said or something that you did, right? Do you own it? No, you don't. You're just borrowing it, right? And the aspect of true ownership where you can be like, no, I'm going to take this and move it over to another exchange, or I want to move it over here, but I own it. You can't take it from me because I have my private keys and fuck you. It's mine, not yours, right? Like there's very few things that you have in life.
Right.
That you truly own. And it sounds weird. It's like, I own the clothes. Like, yeah, you own your clothes, you own your shoes, but anything of true value, other than, I guess, like physical gold, which can also be taken away from you, right? I mean, you, like, think about third world countries and stuff. When people are leaving the country, they're going to strip them of their gold. In the 1930s, Roosevelt took gold from Americans. It was like a federal mandate, right? So like, what do you really own? When like, and keep thinking about assets, things that are, you know, something tangible that will give you value in return, right? There's very few things. It's kind of weird.
Well, my question is this: so I've been talking to other people about NFTs, and someone asked me, well, what happens if you have an NFT and your power goes out? You have no power. How would you use that?
Yeah, so like this question is brought up for Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general, right? And my response is this. Do you have cash at home? Do you have $10,000 like under the couch? Right? Like most people don't. Do you have gold bars?
Okay.
If our power goes out, I don't think we're going to be worrying about NFTs. I think we're going to be worrying about water, right? Like, so those are the types of things. And yes, it certainly is a valid concern, but if the power grid goes down or our internet goes down, we're fucked.
I see what you mean.
Right?
Yeah.
So
It's the last thing you need to worry about.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
and the fact that it's decentralized though, right, is you could go to another country and reclaim your wealth. Pretty fucking cool, right?
That's really great. That's a great response.
Yeah.
That's a really great response to that question. Because I really wondered that, like, what would happen? So other things too, with your NFT. Let's say you have NFTs. So with your NFT, what do you link it to? Like, what's the purpose of, like, okay, you own it. It's your online real estate, but like, how would you use it, like, in the business sense? You, like, if you have a business, you put that in front of your business, like, hey, this is me. This is what I represent, and people can like screenshot it, and it gives them like your information. Like, what's behind it?
Yeah,
What's
I mean,
behind
dude, you're opening up like Pandora's box because no one knows right now.
Okay. So that's still yet to be seen.
Yeah, what NFTs are primarily being utilized for right now is art, right? And kind of like your online art gallery. So you'll see a number of celebrities. Jimmy Fallon just bought a Bored Ape, which is one of the blue chip NFT collections. So if you don't know what NFT, basically what's very popular other than just standard art is people coming up with collections and different variations of like a Bored Ape, for instance, what Jimmy Fallon bought. And it's all different variations of the same kind of Bored Ape. And there's different rarities, different ones have different hats and this and that. And, you know, it's basically like any collectible, like Beanie Babies, right? And I hate to say that because people use that as the boom and the crash.
Yeah.
But you know, Beanie Babies can continue making Beanie Babies, but they can't make any more Bored Apes. I mean, I guess they could, but it wouldn't be the same collection.
Right. Sorry, excuse me.
You're good. But yeah, so like right now, so what interests me right now in NFTs is like number one, the communities that are being built and the ideas that are being built around the NFTs. But the immediate investment thing, like what I'm going to try to make money off of, is the online flex, the online social clout, I guess, if you were to say, right? Jimmy Fallon just bought one, you know, Post Malone just bought 2 Bored Apes for $1.7 million. Jay-Z has a CryptoPunk as his avatar, right? Mike Tyson's got a Cool Cats as his avatar. And when you think about art and you think about like your possessions that you want to show off, and we all do it, the majority of us, a lot of people are very materialistic, right? I mean, Louis Vuitton I think in market cap is like second to almost nobody. I think they're second to like Apple or something. Louis Vuitton, like fashion brands, right? Like they're one of the largest businesses and profitable businesses in the world.
I know
because
a lot of people
because
with
of
Louis
vanity
Vuittons. Yeah.
and because of ego and because of lack of self-esteem or whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
So that market, once you can verify on Twitter, for instance, so like Twitter will have you link your crypto wallet to your profile, just like you would link your Instagram maybe, but it's decentralized and it's we've already talked about this, and you'll be able to display your NFTs to the world. And when you think about that, like think about normal art, right? The art market's huge. But if you own art, the only people that can really see it and know that you have it and know that it's real are the people that actually enter your home, which is a very small amount of people. And unless you really love the art, it's like, okay, why do I have $100,000 piece of art? I guess, I mean, it's a good investment, possibly, if you get into a certain tier of art, right? It'll hold its value nicely if it's extremely rare. But yeah, dude, like just from the art aspect, if we're going to forget everything else, which is, you know, huge in its own right, but it's not there yet and we don't know what it's going to be. Just digital art. It's really cool, man. Like you can own it. Nobody can basically reproduce it without your consent for that specific image.
What if someone does? What how do you stop that? How do you get them on that?
So,
because it's just a picture.
Yeah. So I would just think about it like fake anything, like a fake Rolex, right? So let's say I own a real Rolex and you own a fake one. I know that I own the real one. The person walking by might not be able to tell, but I know and you know. And the difference in that, in NFTs, with NFT verification, is going to be that person walking by online in the metaverse, you know, is going to be able to immediately verify that mine is real and yours isn't. Because my wallet, my you know, Ethernet or my Ethereum wallet can be public to the world, and I can showcase my art.
So like your username will match the NFT, the NFT's username. Yeah.
So like I can link my wallet to my metaverse account. Let's say, for instance, right? If we are like talking in the future, if you know we're talking about like metaverse flex versus real life flex, which is going to be a huge industry. Yeah.
Wow.
And they can verify it right away. That person wouldn't be able to tell that you were wearing a fake Rolex because they look like fake Rolexes look pretty good, right? I mean, I would probably be able to tell because I used to be into watches, but yeah, right. And you could probably have the exact same image, but it would be maybe under a different collection. It would be like under maybe you created a fake NFT, but they would be able to click on it in 2 clicks and see that you're not part of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? Because it's verified on the blockchain in which nobody can change.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And if you have any questions, please ask, because this shit is really confusing.
It doesn't, but it I get it. But I'm just talking like from like a standard like a guy like me on the internet. Like
Yeah.
you know, I'm just like, hey, like so I someone like me who doesn't know better will probably be like, that guy is it's real, but it's not.
Yeah, so like right now,
So that
with
the regular
without,
user would be like, that's real. He really owns that the NFT. When
Yeah.
really, no, he doesn't. But I don't know how to verify that.
well, I don't either, and no one does until these platforms allow you to link wallets.
So at this point, you can steal easy, but the
Yeah,
if you're really trying to use it for something, it's not going to let that user use it.
Yeah, you can fake that very easily. You know, because there's no verification, and that's what I was talking about for the investment thesis, right? Is that once there is verification, and people can actually see that you own these things,
It will be a thing one day.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
get
already
it.
happening. Like a lot of these early NFT holders that have a lot of very expensive pieces, they're already becoming like little celebrities in the NFT space and utilizing that to get advantages and do everything that celebrities do, right?
Right.
In the know, you know the right people. So yeah, and then if you expand on that, it's just it gets overwhelming, because like there's just a lot of possibilities, and it's not everything, but when you think about, I think first it's going to be obviously NFTs and digital art and ownership, and then of course it's going to be the metaverse and blah 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 blah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's also DeFi. We haven't even talked about that. I mean, there's just so many
what's that?
different things.
What's DeFi?
So DeFi is like decentralized finance, and that is basically where you have someone transacting that is decentralized, right? So, for instance, like if you go on the New York Stock Exchange, that's a centralized institution, I guess you'd say, right? And they handle the trades. They can shut that shit down if they want, right? Like it's happened before. The stock market's gone down a certain percentage, and they say, "Oh, let's stop trading today,"
Why?
because they're a centralized institution and they can effectively do whatever they want to do within reason, right? And they can lobby to get laws passed and do whatever the fuck that they want to do. That's the banking industry in a whole.
Let me ask you this. It's just that what you just told me reminds me of that whole situation with GameStop and Robinhood.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's exactly what happened.
That is a primary example. And if you aren't familiar with the GameStop thing, basically there's an app called Robinhood, of all fucking apps, and all, Silicon Valley, we're going to change the world for the better, douchebag companies. And they, they've tried to wiggle their way out of it. I don't trust them. They basically shut off the ability to sell fucking stock.
Because they were dropping, or they weren't gaining what they wanted.
Yeah. Wait,
Okay.
hold on. Is that the ability to buy or sell? I think it was the ability to buy.
Or sell. Because
I can't remember.
They weren't trying to get people to sell their stock either, because people were trying to sell. I remember that specifically. People were trying to sell their stock and they couldn't sell it.
They couldn't sell it. Okay.
Or buy it.
No. Was it? No. I think they could sell it. They just couldn't buy it.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong.
They could sell it and they couldn't buy it, because what happened was there's something called like shorting, and a bunch of the big hedge fund guys had gotten in and shorted GameStop. Basically meaning they make money if the stock goes down, but it's very dangerous, because if the stock goes up and it never stops going up, they have to pay for that if they hold on to their short. So I don't know what GameStop did, but it did some ungodly number, and it actually put, I think, one or two hedge funds out of business.
Oh shit.
Yeah, like wrecked them. But yeah, so basically, getting back to the point, it ended up coming out that Robinhood sells all of your data, if you're a Robinhood user, over to financial institutions, hedge funds. They look at all your trading data, and they basically trade against you, right? And they understand what you're doing, and they have all of your data, just like every other large tech company out there that needs to make money. So yeah, if that was decentralized, and you understood what the smart contracts were, we haven't talked about smart contracts are, what smart contracts are, but they're basically like just the underlying agreements, the code that's written on the blockchain, which cannot be changed, in which you transact, right? Think of it like, instead of a lawyer, you got a good coder and he writes a smart contract for you and you go ahead and, do your deal, right? And if you think about that on the crypto network, that's happening all the time, right? So that's a prime example of a centralized authority, Robinhood, having the ability, being human, being fucking, getting pressure from one of their main investors, right? It actually came out that one of the people that was buying a lot of that data from them, one of their biggest customers, was getting fucked by that GameStop deal.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude. It's
I
so
read
ridiculous,
a thing real quick. I didn't get into it.
Yeah.
So who would you? I mean, I didn't know Robinhood was a bad app. So what's a good app?
Don't use Robinhood. If you're out there, don't use fucking Robinhood. I hope they go out of business. They deserve to go out of business.
So I heard of Coinbase. Are they better?
They're all centralized. You have to understand that, right? And there's this thing in, crypto where, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. Meaning, if you don't own your private keys and you have it on your physical hardware wallet that you own, then it's not really yours. Because just like Robinhood shut down trading, or let's say, what if next week the federal government says we're gonna shut down Coinbase, we're gonna shut down all of the institutions, and fuck you, they're shutting it down and we're seizing all the money. And by the way, that happened for online poker. And talk to the people that were online poker that took them 5 to 10 years to get their $30,000 back from the U.S. government, or the whoever they were able to get that from via the U.S. government, right? They shut it down and seized their funds.
So how do you actually own Bitcoin?
So you can own it on Coinbase, but I'm just prefacing that
they could take it away.
Yeah,
they could stop you from it.
Yeah.
So what the fuck?
And it's probably not going to happen. That's why I own the majority of my crypto is on a physical wallet, and I have the keys in a very, very safe place.
How would you go about doing that?
Basically, it's very simple. A lot of people overcomplicate it. You get a physical, like a ledger or a nano, which is like a physical, little wallet that can hold your keys. And it's open source, very secure. And then you type in a passphrase to basically create this private key. It's like, it could be like 12 or 24 different letters or words, excuse me. And then you save that key, those 12 or 24 words, and you keep that very safe. Lock it up in a vault, put it in somewhere. I have it in a very safe place, right? That no one can get to, and it's like a Fort Knox type deal, right?
Which you should.
Yeah. Like if you just think of it like this, right? If you had $100,000 or whatever in gold, physical gold, what would you do with it?
You wouldn't have it near you.
Yeah, you would. That's how you would store.
I
your
would
keys.
assume you would put it somewhere no one would ever guess.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also do multi-sig wallets, which is a little more complicated. But yeah, so you store that key, and then you basically have your physical, wallet that you use to transact online.
Wow. So
you don't use
Coinbase or Robinhood?
I do use Coinbase. I have a Robinhood account, but I've never used it. But I don't keep anything in Coinbase. I keep a little bit in Kraken. I keep a little bit in this other account called Femex, and a little bit in this other account called, they're all online exchanges, Gate.io for some, I'm thinking about getting into some crypto gaming stuff just for short-term investment.
Man, you got me all fucked up now because I use both Coinbase and Robinhood, and now I'm scared.
It's actually okay to use Coinbase. Coinbase is a great company.
Okay, so you haven't
Robinhood's
heard
a piece of shit, but they're centralized though, right? And like so they would be helpless,
that.
Right?
They could do that too.
They're regulated by the U.S. If the U.S. came and shut them down, just like China did, I don't think people's funds got seized, but China just did that, right? They just So this was, I think, a couple months ago, a month and a half, 2 months ago. They came in and shut down crypto. They said you're not going to do it anymore. You're not going to transact. They shut down a bunch of miners for mainly for environmental reasons. But yeah.
Shit. Holy shit.
But that's good though, right? Because China's an authoritarian state. And
Makes
crypto
sense.
and
Makes
authoritarianism
sense.
doesn't mix.
It's not.
because they can't control it.
Not a surprise. Not a surprise that China did. Yeah, I get that. But my thing is, I didn't realize how big the Robinhood GameStop thing was until right now. I heard about it. I read a brief thing, but wow, I cannot believe that.
Yeah.
So that makes me think now. Is there anything else besides that? Coinbase.
There's a bunch. I think Kraken's really good.
Kraken.
I like Kraken because you can use a physical like YubiKey, something that you have like matches your. Basically, you have to press it, and it's physical, right? Because a lot of people, I mean, the next best way is to just do like 2-factor authentication. But I don't know. I'm always worried like if I lose my phone or something, then I'm fucked. Kind of. I mean, you can call support and get it unlocked,
And that's
but
the
it's
thing.
a long process.
That's the thing too that you can't bank on is your phone. I know that from experience. There's always something that happens to my fucking phone.
Yeah.
I lose it, or someone steals it, and then someone puts a gun to your face. What do? You give them your phone. You're not gonna be like, no, you die for your phone.
Yeah, no way.
No, hell no. So that's kind of scary. But going back to the NFT thing, something that I was gonna send you, but I know that you're only my friend on Twitter, but I saw on Instagram, Ice Cube, the rapper. I follow him on Instagram, and he did a thing where he put out a whole set of it, him and some guy. I don't remember the name. I don't know if you might know of this. Maybe not.
I haven't heard of Ice Cube. No.
He got with some guy who makes art, and they're putting out Ice Cube string of NFTs that are going for you're bidding on. They're basically you're bidding on them. So
He's putting them up for auction.
yeah, an auction. So that's why I was like, okay, I was looking into it because of you. I was like, oh, you got me onto the subject, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. Yeah. And he did a whole. If you ever, I looked for his Twitter, I couldn't find it. But I'm sure he put it on Twitter if it was that important to him. But
there's so many projects out there. It's hard to keep track, dude.
And that's the thing too. Is that's mainly my point from this Ice Cube situation. Is how do you follow? I'm not into NFTs yet. I'm slowly getting into it. You seem like you're pretty good into it. Like, how do you know which are the rare ones and which are the ones that are just there's so many? Just it's not worth it.
That's a great question, dude. Because I'm trying to figure that out as of this moment.
Okay.
I spent a bunch of money on different tools. Like right now, I'm trying to snipe, which meaning when an NFT set gets released, basically they flood the marketplace with new metadata. Because like what normally happens when you have an NFT drop of let's say like 10,000 different images.
Right.
They'll all be the same, right? Because there's the reveal that basically needs to happen. So you mint it, then it goes onto the marketplace, and then they usually reveal it, and then you can see what you have, right? If you got a 1 of 1, you're really happy because you're going to make money, most likely. And and in that process, it's a little slow because it's all happening on the blockchain, right? So there are certain apps that you can buy to grab that metadata really quick. And for the people that were selling, ideally, when they didn't know what theirs was going to be because maybe it went up in value and they were doing a quick flip, you can go in and grab those real quick because you'll have first access to the metadata. I'm trying that. It hasn't worked out that well yet because there's more tools popping up and it's readily available. But that is the secret sauce right now because there is a lot. I mean, what you need to look for, just like in crypto, you need to do your research. So what does that mean? You need to, ideally, whoever's creating the NFT either is doxed, you know who they are as a person, they have a LinkedIn profile associated, or they have a ton of followers and they have a great reputation online, right? They might be, for whatever that may be, or it's linked to an actual real life artist. Those are normally pretty good bets, but at the same time, it's very, very difficult because it's art too. It's all subjective. Right. And there's a lot of empty promises. There's a lot of scams in the space. So to answer your question, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out.
Right. Well, because I tried looking up on that OpenSea and I couldn't figure it out. I could not figure it out because I don't know any art. I don't know any artists. So maybe if I need to get into that space to understand what's going on here.
Well, there's 2 different routes you can take, right? You can buy art if you just like it. And honestly, I mean, you want to have good fundamentals. You want to have a lot of volume. You want to have a lot of people buying it, and just like it and just hold on to it for a while. I mean, I kind of look at it like this. So like, I think NFTs and crypto in general right now, if you're investing in altcoins, it's just like venture capital. Apparently, I'm not a venture capitalist, but they say, I think it's 1 out of 10 wins or 1 out of 20 wins, whatever it is. Then that 1 or 2 win, that 10%, whatever it is going to pay for all of your other losses.
Right.
But it's also about community. That's one thing I didn't mention, and it's very, very important for long-term investing. Is in the NFT community right now, or in the NFT space right now, is the community in which those NFTs are attached to.
Mm-hmm.
So like Discord servers, right?
Right.
Like if you have a shit community where no one gets along and everyone's like, fuck this, and they're just flipping for profit, then everyone's going to keep flipping, and it's eventually just going to be this kind of worthless project, right?
Right.
It's kind of like those who stick together and those who can find that right mesh. Also the cool art. Also they have the right, so people are creating tokens off of NFTs now. They're creating they're basically, I think what's going to happen with NFTs is they're going to be like full on like businesses, like decentralized businesses. I think they're like Bored Ape. So the most popular one you hear, like Jimmy Fallon and Post Malone just spent a ton of money buying. I think Bored Ape Yacht Club is going to be very similar to like Gucci. I think it already is. Like if you own a Bored Ape Yacht Club, you're driving a Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just spent $300,000 on a fucking JPEG, but it's so much more than that, right? Because they throw these parties, right? And it's a status thing, right? And then you get all the perks that come along with that, right? So like,
wow.
so like think about walking into a nightclub, and they're like, I'm a Bored Ape. How? I mean, this isn't happening right now. Maybe it is.
I get it.
And they're like, boom, here you go, scan it, you're in, right? Like that's already happening to a certain extent with just like the private parties that they're throwing, and that's more of like a social, like elite type of NFT group, but they're blazing forward and kind of showing one of the ways you can utilize NFTs and collectibles is as like a membership. It's really a membership to a certain extent.
I get it.
Or it's a collectible, and the art is great and you love it. There's very few of those because people are like, I'd say 60-70% of the community, probably more than that, probably 90% of the community just wants to make money. They want to flip it. They want it to go up in value so they can get rid of it and they can cash out their Ethereum. And you see that whenever Ethereum goes up and it goes parabolic, people are selling their NFTs left and right to get out of it so they can move it over to Ethereum and cash it out, right? Or just, so it's, but that will change eventually. And I think it already has for like a few projects where people are probably going to hold for a long time because they see the value, right? Like we're so early in it. I mean, just think like a new type of social kind of interaction method. Really. That's what it is.
It's so fucking crazy.
And there's tiers to it, and you can represent yourself online and in the real world, in Bored Ape Yacht's case, as like a, if like you and me got together and a few other people and we pooled together like 150 grand and we bought this Bored Ape, like we could get access to Post Malone.
Right.
But maybe.
Right.
Think about it, right?
That's fucking crazy.
So that's like, and I mean, we've gone totally out into left field talking about like the Bored Apes, but that's the most popular one right now. And I think that's the one you're going to be hearing about the most. That and like CryptoPunks. But
is that the one that Jay-Z got, CryptoPunk?
Yeah, it's like the super pixelated image.
Which is crazy because it looks very simple.
Yeah, it is very simple.
It's very simple art. It's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think they're cool though. I remember seeing them when I first looked into NFTs like
very
a couple years ago.
Very cool.
And I was like, oh, that's
Jay-Z's
cool.
made me like that. That's the one that when you showed me that Jay-Z one, that's like I need to get an NFT. I need to figure this out.
Yeah, man.
Get an NFT, man.
And talk to me,
dope.
Because I'm basically like at a break-even point, but I've made a lot of bad decisions, and I've learned a lot. right? I've invested in a ton of shitty projects. I've made stupid buys. I've bought at when everything's going up and I'm chasing it because I think everyone's buying into this project. It's similar to like, you have to think about it if you're looking at it from a financial point of view, like they're just like little mini stocks.
Yeah, definitely.
But they're not though. There's
But
all this other stuff attached to them, right?
Right,
like
right,
it's
right.
not you so.
It's so crazy about it. And then it's yet to be seen what they can do. Like you're saying right now, status, but what if there's a way in the future to make that link to who you are, like what your business is?
People are already doing that, right? Like people are already calling themselves on Twitter Bored Ape number 587. Like they've already associated this with their identity, right? Like that's already happening. And it will continue to happen. Especially, I mean, and it's really cool too. Like think about what are you into? Like what's your favorite thing that you're into?
Maybe video games and music.
Okay, like what's your favorite video game or favorite music?
Like favorite video game right now?
Yeah.
Maybe Mario.
Okay. So like what if Nintendo came out with a super rare NFT set of Mario's,
dude,
and you could get access to like all of the
flipped upside down.
And like Jay-Z, what if he came out with a limited edition number of NFTs and you could get access to all his stuff before everyone else did, and you maybe could meet him and hang out with him and you could talk to him online.
Yeah, that's worth it. It'd be worth it to me.
Yeah. So with NFTs, what's happening right now is, you know the metaverse, right? You heard Zuckerberg and everyone's talking about the metaverse and all this.
Right.
A lot of that is way far out, but dude, I just don't have time, and I don't have and I'm not a gamer, but I want to figure out like what are the best up and coming gaming projects in crypto. There's a ton of them right now, and they're all very primitive.
What do you mean?
So there's something called play to earn. So crazy story, dude. There's this thing called Axie Infinity. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's #1 crypto game right now, and people are actually in the Philippines quitting their jobs, their real life jobs, in droves to play this game as their job.
And what's the point? You play to get paid?
So what happens is they have a token, right? And they have these online characters. And like think about it as in any other video game, like World of Warcraft.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay. It's an MMO.
Yeah, and you and me, I mean, I used to play a lot of PC games. There's markets around that stuff already.
Right.
For fake money, for like stuff that doesn't even, it's locked into the game. You can't even pull it out. Like I was playing, over COVID, I was playing Tarkov, and I was paying like these overseas people to like get me a bunch of guns and gold and shit because I didn't have time to do it. Right? But just think about that if that were transferable into the real world.
We were talking about that.
And if the game became popular and actually people would like to play it and earn money, right? Like what if you could play Mario Brothers or something equivalent to that you love and make a living off of it?
Right.
Or have it, or just have it as a hobby and play the game and make, a couple grand a year.
Yeah.
Or more, right? Like who knows? And then why everyone's so like crazy about the metaverse, because the metaverse, it means it's interchangeable. There will be interoperability, right? That's the big thing. Like it's not about the virtual reality and all that shit. Like that's a separate technology that has nothing to do with the metaverse, in my opinion. That's just a better experience of it, right? It's a better visual and physical representation of it. The metaverse is about a connected online world that has real value and its own economy. And it's interchangeable, right? Like, so you could take your Axie Infinity and move it over to another game, and people are already doing this, right? They're talking about the economy. The economic aspect of it is you have people taking like an Axie Infinity and loaning it out, like you would loan out a car or something, and other people are using it. They do a smart contract on the blockchain. Here you go, right? No one can change the blockchain as long as the smart contract is written properly. I'm going to get my Axie Infinity back, and they pay them to go use their Axie Infinity in the game and build up experience and build up points or whatever, and then give it back to them. So they're basically earning passive income off of skin or an NFT that they're using in the game.
That needs to happen with all video games.
Yep.
I think
that's whatever. So gamers get it, right? Like
yeah. Oh yeah. I was talking to someone the other day about this this conversation, because we kind of had a small version of this conversation where we were talking about how I own all these video games on my account with PlayStation. Let's say, for example, PlayStation. I have an Xbox as well, but both of them, you buy digital games and you have them, you own them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I thought was shitty about GameStop. Like, great, everyone made a profit off GameStop, but I wish they would have died. GameStop as a company, because they're the shittiest company. They have profited off of people trading in their games that they paid for $60 for, and then they give them $10 for it. They take that game, turn it around, and sell it for $40. Fuck that company. I hate them for that reason, because they all they do is just profit off of people's just
it's kind of like a pawn shop kind of deal, right?
Right, but that's what happened when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One came out. That was a big thing in the gaming industry.
That's probably what helped probably put them out of business, kind of, right?
It started to decline them because
like
people
Netflix
were starting to buy digital. That was the thing, digital.
Why would you?
But the problem is, there was a question once digital happened. The second digital started to be a thing in the gaming industry. The conversation. Well, what if I get bored of this game? It's back there. It's the first game I bought. I have 100 now. I don't play it anymore. What's the how could I profit off this? Or just maybe
I gotta get some money back and buy something else. Yeah,
give it to somebody. Or this guy wants it. This guy hasn't played the game. I want to just give it to him. I'll give it to him. I can sell it to him for whatever I want to give it to him for.
Yep.
I paid $60. It's an old game. I'll give it to him for $10. Good grace, whatever. And they would be, you could change that over, but there was no system in place at that time. So that it still there isn't. But that's the thing that the gaming industry has been asking for since 2012.
So that's probably going to happen, in my opinion, because
and that's the thing is it has to. It's not. I'm not an expert. I don't know math. I'm not good at math. I'm not a scientist. That seems like something that can happen. It's easy to do.
And there's an incentive for like PlayStation, for instance, right? Because they can make residuals. They can take a percentage. Just like when a marketplace sells NFTs and they transfer to one person to another, they take 2% or 3% or whatever.
Right. And that's a simple. I think that would be a simple transaction.
That's definitely going to happen.
But
I'm pretty sure
there has yet to be something in place, and I feel like we're living in the prehistoric ages, because that's been something that we've been asking for almost 10 years now.
Yeah,
that it should be so
just like
simple.
Maybe an internal marketplace, right?
Because
similar to like PC games, like Steam.
Because we were talking to you about the Richie thing when Richie came over and we played that game.
Oh yeah,
PT. That is a demo. It's a free game. It was a free thing. It's a free in 2013 when that demo came out. It was supposed to be this big game, but here's a piece of it, right? But they fired the guy who was directing it. Fired him. That game never happened. So that demo is now the only thing of this. So there's this game series called Silent Hill. Started in 1999. They made so many of them, but eventually traded hands, and now it's like this piece of shit, right? But in the beginning, it was great, but it was low quality. PlayStation 1, real low res graphics. Now it's like this was like the beginning of like the new era of this, because they brought it back to the original horror. That's the whole thing about this demo. Free, right? And it's a short thing. It's not a whole game. It's free, and it's this piece of a game that people are buying for thousands of dollars on a PlayStation, right? And I have it.
Yeah, because it's scarce.
Yeah. I want to do that, but I can't do that because it's attached to my account. I own it. I can't. If I can just trade it to a dummy account and sell them the account, great. But if I gave it to them, I have to give them all my games that I already had bought. These hundreds of dollars of games. It's a problem. It's a stupid problem.
Yeah, and the blockchain fixes that, right? NFTs fix that.
Stupid. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. They should be doing this. That should have been a thing back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because even if they should have created like an internal marketplace, because they would make money instead of you selling your game to GameStop. You would just trade it, and they would continually make money off of all those trades back and forth.
Yeah, that's why I hated the whole GameStop thing. I was like, which ties back to that what we were talking about earlier. Because fuck GameStop, dude. I wish they would have went down, but they ended up fucking making money.
That's another thing for the residual income for artists right now. It's never been like a brighter time for artists that can make an NFT, because they'll get like if they come out with a popular collection, and that stays in the market forever, and it's being traded, then they'll make those small percentage points on every sale for the entirement of its existence, and then they can pass that on to whoever they want to, give their private keys over. Right.
Right.
I mean, and then you think about music, the record industry. I mean,
Oh my god, it's
Dude.
gonna kill the record industry. This whole blockchain stuff.
Yeah, it's
It
definitely
will
going
kill
to.
them.
Why would you ever want to sign a record deal in this day and age with the ability to market and like basically have all of what they can do at your fingertips, essentially?
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm
Right.
sure they can pull a few strings and they have a budget to market and all that stuff. But, you know,
Yeah, it's so fucking crazy.
why would you re-sign with them if you're already a successful artist?
That's
Like, why
my-
would you do that?
That's my thing though. How do we get into that? How do we invest in that?
You can.
Like the
There's
fucking-
something called like Audius, right? And there's a number of different ones that are. There's one that I looked at the other day. It's called, I think it's Opus, OPUS, and it has an executive, ex-CEO of Sony Music on their board. They're all doxed, meaning that they have their profiles on the website, and they're a startup, and they're gonna be getting into that business of signing, you know, artists and having it all be done through blockchain and giving them the proper amount of money that they should give them, right? And having them make residuals and have it all very, very out in the open.
Right. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude. Because you think about trust, right? The artist couldn't trust the record company. So, you know, blockchain fixes that, right? Like, we can't trust the government sometimes. I don't know if the blockchain is going to fix that because, you know, they have to implement blockchain. But just think about, you know, the banking system. Think about insurance companies. Think about any centralized person or group of people that operates differently than others based on some bullshit status thing or some kind of, you know, some kind of advantage that they might have that isn't fair. Because it's okay to have an advantage in life, right? We all have advantages and disadvantages, and
Certain
people
ways, yeah.
work to have advantages, and that's fine. But in some situations, it's very unfair, you know?
Wow. That's
I mean,
crazy.
just
That's a
just
good
think
way you
like,
put it.
yeah, dude, like just think about investing in general,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you have to be an accredited investor and have an X amount of money liquid and have all of these other financial check marks in order for you to like invest in a startup.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, right?
Yeah.
That's another little loophole or way for the government and, you know, the elites to tell you, oh, we want to protect you, right? Like, no, like it's too risky for you. You don't know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
How about I earn my own money, I make my own money, I should be able to spend it and invest it in whatever the fuck I want. How about that?
Right.
Well, you can't do that, but in blockchain you can, right? The 19-year-old kid working at McDonald's has the same opportunity to invest in crypto as the $10 billion hedge fund manager. It's like on the level playing field. Yeah, granted, the hedge fund manager is going to have 100 analysts and he's going to be able to figure the market out better, but they're probably both going to invest in Bitcoin, right? Because if Bitcoin was in the traditional world, it wouldn't be available for us yet. Because the banks and the financial institutions and all the fuckheads on Wall Street would be pulling all the money out of it and basically getting in there and you know, waiting for it to go public. And, you know, by the time it goes public, they've already made their 50x, their 100x. And we're just grabbing the cream off the top, and hopefully you can buy into a, you know, company like Amazon, right? Hopefully. But how many stocks are there and how many Amazons are there? You know? And that's the same thing for crypto, but you're talking about exponential gains, right? Like, and it's risky. I get that, but that's why you need to do your own research. But there's massive opportunity for the people that have the conviction and understand the technology and believe in it and see the potential value. You know, they should have the ability to invest in it.
Mm-hmm.
And in the traditional financial system, they wouldn't have, which is, it's like criminal.
That's fucking crazy. The way you put it, it seems so easy.
What do you mean?
But the way when you talk about it, all this, it seems so simple and so clear. But when you leave, it's like, what the fuck am I doing?
Dude, I would start with just like the search, like first principles, and like it takes time.
Right,
This is not something that like, and you'll hear this, especially if you watch YouTube videos like I do. People will say, you know, this isn't something you're going to pick up in a week. You might. I mean, if you cram and you're just obsessed, right? Because I've been obsessed for the last 6 months. Like, all I do is just try to take in as much information as I can. It's overwhelming because it's moving so fast.
Right.
But it's going to take you a while for everything to sink in. Like, I can tell you this right now, but you have to like anything in life, you have to consume it yourself and like really take it in yourself to fully understand it.
Right. I'm trying. I have been since I met you. I've been slowly trying to take it in, and I read about it on Twitter. I see your tweets. I see your retweets.
All of that stuff that's kind of my NF, because I've never been on Twitter. I'm not on any other social media profile. I'm just doing that all for NFT stuff. But some of it, like I
read some of the stuff you put, and I try to keep up with it. Like, okay, like I see some of the things that and I know because of your NFT. I'm like, okay, that's Ryan right there.
Yeah, like if I'm writing it, then it's me. But I do a lot of retweet stuff just to, if I'm hyping a project, or you know, if I'm trying to get, because a lot of people do like, hey, I'm giving away this NFT, retweet and do this. And I'm like, why not, real quick. But I forgot what I was saying. I'm sorry.
I don't remember either.
For education on it. Yeah, it takes time. It takes time, and like, just make sure that you understand, I would say Bitcoin first and then Ethereum, and how it works and why it's important. You know, like, it's just important to know all that stuff, because, for instance, like Bitcoin, everyone says, oh, well, you know, there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin that it will ever be mined, and that's it. Well, that's not true. I mean, it is, but it isn't, because, you know, like they have this BIP, Bitcoin something proposal. I fucking forgot what it was. Ethereum has a thing, the same thing. It's an EIP. Basically, what happens is someone submits a proposal to the community in like white paper form, and then the community talks about it in an open forum. Right? And you and me could hop on that forum and talk about it. And they cast votes, and they basically, you know, go through all of these different processes to kind of get consensus. And I think for Bitcoin, you have to have overwhelming majority consensus, right? So it's based on the community. Could change, but luckily with Bitcoin, and why so many people love it, is because the community is so strong and has so much conviction in the kind of self-sovereignty and kind of what that means, and like how you can't change that. That's the most important thing, right? And like not moving fast, you know, like not making a bunch of different changes all the time.
Right.
Versus all the other layer ones, which are more technology layer ones, where they're like protocols that they're competing with each other for who can do the most transactions per second and all that. Bitcoin's different. Bitcoin's a store of value. It's kind of sitting there, making sure that it can maintain its hold as a store of value and money, right? Because yeah, so I could talk about this. I love it, but yeah.
Hey man, yeah, I love it too. But we have to wrap this up. But
for sure,
we should do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
And I appreciate everything. I appreciate you coming and being here.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, this flew by.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.